In this presentation, I will be outlining and discussing how Iraqi food culture has integrated itself into Australian culture through immigration and strong historical influences. Also, in relation to our case study Amira, I will discuss how these general ideas can relate to particular individuals. To understand the immersion of Iraqi culture in Australia, we must be aware of how its food culture has been influenced by historical events and religion in particular. The Republic of Iraq is one of the easternmost countries of the Arab region. Divided into 4 physiographic regions, there is a central, south, eastern, upland and highland region. All of these regions are neighboured by countries. Food availability was hugely compromised due to the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s. The Public Distribution System, or PDS, was established as a result of the mass starvation and was crucial in maintaining food security for a large section of the population. Without the PDS, food insecurity is projected to increase by 20%. The majority of Iraqis living in Iraq are Muslim. Muslims share beliefs and religious holidays that are celebrated by food. One of the main celebrations is Ramadan, which is celebrated in the 9th month of the Muslim year. No food or water is consumed from sunrise to sunset, which Muslims believe strengthens their faith and enables them to understand how it feels to be poor and hungry. Muslims will rise before dawn to eat, and most foods contain grains, seeds and dates as they are slow to digest, helping to ease the hunger. Iraq produces crops such as leeks, onions, lentils, wheat and barley. Many foods are strongly influenced by Turkey and Iran. Main foods consumed include vegetables, lamb, rice and yogurt. Iraq is influenced by Iran as many enjoy cooking fruits with meats such as beef. In terms of agriculture, Iraq has suffered due to a lack of investment and isolation from the global economy. Although they have been dependent on imports for a significant portion of food, Iraqi agribusinesses are starting to modernize to compete with imports to meet local demands. To aid, farmers are introduced to latest technologies such as soil and water management to increase productivity and lower production costs. Now that we have explored Iraq's food history, we can move on to covering Iraq's influence on Australia. I will also introduce our case study Amira. Firstly, let's have a look at the comparison between Australia and Iraq's consumption of their key commodities. The food categories that I have chosen to include are tree nuts, vegetables, fruits and meat. Looking at the data, Australia's food supply for all categories are higher than Iraq's, particularly when looking at tree nuts, although Iraq have quite a high nut presence in their dishes. In terms of meat, in 2013, Australia's supply was 116 kilograms per capita per year, and compared to 16.67 kilograms per capita per year for Iraq, there is a huge discrepancy between the two countries. With all that in mind, food culture can be compared in regards to their overall food supply, as that could have a huge effect on staple foods and traditions. Immigration to Australia sparked in 1991 during the Gulf War. A large number of people fled Iraq into neighbouring countries, and refugees lived in processing camps for up to 5 years before being accepted into Australia. The Iraqi-born community in Victoria is culturally diverse, with about 28% being Muslim and 60% Christian. Nearly half of the Iraqi community speak Arabic at home, with 3% speaking English. Our case study Amira was born in Melbourne, Australia. Majority of her family speak English proficiently and is Christian, which is not the norm in Iraq. Her family's choice to migrate to Australia was largely due to religion during a war, which led to many Christian family and friends being killed. Amira's parents spent 4 years in a refugee camp on the border of Jordan before settling into St Albans, Victoria. There are many fixed and time-honoured rituals within Iraqi cuisine which are not present in most Australian culture. It is often impolite to not serve something to eat or drink to guests, as well as to refuse food or drink offered. Before eating, individuals wash their hands to offer thanks to God, and in most traditional settings, having conversation during a meal is considered inappropriate. There are foods that are reserved for special occasions such as raisins, almonds and pine nuts. In Australia, aspects of the Iraqi culture have been integrated particularly through religion, with many of the Iraqi-born residents still practicing religious celebrations. Majority of the Iraqi population in Australia were once refugees and have needed to learn about new types of food and where to source these ingredients. Because of this, migrants often choose energy-dense and highly processed foods upon arrival, as these foods are often seen as luxuries in their culture. In Amira's case, easily accessible foods such as takeaway or fast foods may have been preferred as her parents navigated their new environment. Often though, migrants bring new flavours and new ingredients that build on Australia's multicultural cuisine. It allows for people to learn and adapt to traditional foods such as dishes from Iraq. To summarise, Iraq has a diverse food culture that is influenced not only by their lack of food supply compared to the developed countries such as Australia, but their strong faith in their religion. Iraqi culture has been integrated into Australian culture through traditional time-honoured rituals and integration of religion. Although the transition as a migrant would have been difficult due to the difference in lifestyle and food accessibility. Thank you for your participation in this presentation.